Does hypnosis work? I would say to you, you work. I would say the magic is not in the tool, it's not in the operator. The magic is in you. Hello, hello. So happy to be here. Today, I'm going to answer a question, probably the most common question I get asked socially, networking events, when I meet somebody. The common question is, what is it that you do for a living? And I say, well, I'm a hypnotist. And the most common follow-up question at that point is, does hypnosis really work? There are hypnotists all over the world helping people achieve all kinds of wonderful results, and hypnosis has been well known and studied for 3,000 years. The first thing that amazes me about this question is, I wonder what it would be like, if I'm at a networking event and somebody says, what do you do for a living? And I say, I'm a surgeon. Would a person say, well, does surgery work? It's like, wait, no, we build these huge buildings called hospitals. There are thousands of doctors operating on people all day long, but it doesn't work. We've been fooling. In other words, the question is a little weird. If I told you that I'm a house cleaner. Hi, my name is Flavio, I'm a house cleaner. Does house cleaning work? No, it doesn't. We just go to your house. We make a mess. We have a big party there. We don't clean the house. It doesn't work. What do you do for a living? Oh, my name is Flavio. What do you do for a living? No, I'm a taxi driver. Does that work? No, you get into my cab, you pay me, you tell me where to go, and you know what? I'll just drop you off in the next corner. It doesn't work. Taxi driving does not working. All those taxi cabs you see on the street, big scam. It doesn't work. So I'm being a little facetious here because I do find the question a little funny. I don't know of another profession. I'm a car mechanic. Does that work? Do you guys actually fix the cars? No, you bring your car in, we'll just mess it up for you and you will never be able to drive it away. I don't know if there is another profession in which the most common question once you declare yourself to be a member of that profession would be, does that work? I've never seen this before. I met many people, 27 years in professional practice, we don't ask any other professional that question. So it's an odd thing. So I went through my sarcastic phase, as I call it. Here's phase number 1, when I was very young in the profession. And today I laugh at it because when I was younger, of course, I thought I knew everything, right? So a person would ask me that question, and I would be just as sarcastic as I made it seem a moment ago. That was my sarcastic phase. No, it doesn't work at all. We're a bunch of scammers. For 3,000 years, people have been studying hypnosis. Neuroscience, modern neuroscience has proven that the brain state associated with hypnosis is different from the brain state associated with imagination. All of that is a scam. It doesn't work. And yet, I'm a hypnotist. How are you? My name is Flavio. In other words, I was sarcastic, right? And of course, that didn't. I laughed today because that was silly. I did that once or twice because I thought the question was somewhat absurd. But I quickly matured. This was many, many years ago, and I got into what I call I think I called it my philosophical phase. And now a person would ask me a question, does hypnosis work? And of course, at a networking event, you meet somebody socially, they want to show interest in what you do. Maybe they're not interested, or maybe they're afraid of the answer, or maybe they don't care, I don't know. But, they're trying to show some degree of interest and they want to ask an intelligent question. So the intelligent question to them might be, well, does it work? So when I overcame my sarcastic phase and I got into my philosophical phase, what I would do, which is probably worse, if not, equal or worse to the previous phase, I would reinterpret the person's question. So then I would say something like this, well, what are you asking me? Are you asking me whether we have an unconscious mind and whether it is possible to become consciously aware of the unconscious? Because that has been validated for thousands of years. Even in modern psychology, the idea of the unconscious has been validated. We do know that it's possible through a variety of techniques to become consciously aware of the unconscious. And so is that what you're asking me? Because that has been amply validated. We are in the 21st world, so a little bit of a residue there from my sarcastic phase, right? That has been validated. But then I would say, most likely that's not what you're asking me. Most likely what you're asking me is, is it possible to actually achieve results through hypnosis? And that is a much more profound question, because the magic, I would tell people, is not in the tool. Hypnosis is a tool. The magic is in you and in the operator. So would you ask a carpenter who just made this beautiful piece of furniture, you wouldn't say, well, the saw did it. The saw is the tool that the carpenter used to produce that. You could ask, does the saw work or not? And hypnosis works. The phenomenon of getting in touch with your unconscious, that works. But if we're now addressing the other question, which is, can I achieve results through hypnosis, then that question is much more complex, you see, because now we have to see what results you hope to achieve and what sorts of changes you're willing to make. Because look, I'll give you an example. In the context of weight loss, when a person asks, let's say they found out about a new diet. Look, if you eat banana peels and avocado seeds all day long, you lose weight, whatever. So then what people really mean by the question, does this new banana peel diet work? I'm making this up, by the way. I don't know of any diet like this, and I don't suggest you eat this. I'm just saying as an absurd example. So in philosophy, we use this technique called reductio ad absurdum, which is like when you bring an argument to an absurdity and you realize that what we're talking about doesn't make any sense, therefore the original premise is false. So sometimes exaggeration is a technique that we use to reduce the question to the absurdity as a philosophical tool to show that the answer must be elsewhere. So anyway, if I told you that that's the new diet and a person asks me, okay, does that diet work? What they're really asking is, can I continue to eat as I currently eat and still lose weight? So in the context, I don't want to use the example of medications, but nowadays that's very common. So when a person asks, does XYZ substance work for weight loss? What they're really saying is, can I continue to eat the way I eat and still lose weight? And the answer is yes and no. There might be a little bit of initial weight loss, but eventually you're going to throw something off and everything is going, you're going to have bigger problems. The only way to really lose weight permanently, effectively, is to change the way we eat and the way we move around. Eat less and exercise more. Everybody knows this. So in the context of hypnosis, the question, does hypnosis work for weight loss? For instance, it's not the only thing the hypnotists do, but as an example. The question is, the answer is, of course it does, but not the way sometimes a person thinks. It's not like you're going to come to see a hypnotist like me. We're going to hypnotize you and you're going to leave feeling lighter or weighing less, or that you're magically going to continue eating whatever it is that you've been eating and yet you're going to lose weight. That does not exist. We're in the 21st century. We're not in the 12th century. We're not in the dark ages anymore. It's not what hypnotists do. And when a person asks me that, back when I was in my sarcastic years, I would ask him, dude, we're in the 20, we have to get over this idea that we're proposing some sort of senseless magic. It's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here with hypnosis is we're going to create a different identity, which will result in a changing behavior, which will then result in different results. So in the case of weight loss, if the person sees themselves as a fat slob, and I'm exaggerating to make a point here, they're going to eat like one, and as a result, they're going to weigh and look a certain way. You see? So the way we see ourselves results in our behaviors, and our behaviors result in results in the way we look in the case of weight loss. How do we help the person lose weight? It's not by sucking the weight out of their belly. That's called liposuction, bariatric surgery. There are other ways of doing that. All of them have severe problems. It's not as foolproof as people sometimes are told it is. You have no idea how many people, in parentheses, you have no idea how many people I've worked with who have been through bariatric surgery. That's when they cut into your stomach so you cannot eat as much. And they tell me, Doc, nobody told me that the surgery I really needed was in my head, not in my belly, because They cut my stomach, I cannot eat, but now I feel a huge amount of anxiety because I still feel like eating just as much as before, except that I can't. And here's what happens over time. Studies show they begin to insist on overeating because that's what they feel like doing. Eventually, whatever amount of stomach they have left stretches and they gain weight again. I do this very, very frequently with people who have had surgery. Very dangerous surgery. And I'm not against it. And the reason I'm not against the surgery is because it has been shown to save lives in terms of diabetes, in terms of heart disease, and a bunch of other things. It has been shown statistically because it creates rapid weight loss and you can save some lives. So statistically, we know it works. We know, but everybody knows it's a very costly operation. I don't mean costly in terms of money, although it is very costly in that way as well. But it's very costly in terms of side effects. You cut the person's belly open, you cut their stomach, and all kinds of side effects. They no longer absorb nutrients properly, and on and on and on. And in some cases, if there is no change in identity and behaviors, they will eventually gain weight back. So, does hypnosis work? Well, the phenomenon of hypnosis in terms of getting in touch with your unconscious has been validated. The answer to that is yes. And does hypnosis work in terms of can I achieve the results I want through hypnosis? Well, the answer is yes, provided you're willing to change. Now, the changes do not come from me. I do not tell you what to do. It doesn't, they're going to come from you. But if you're not willing to make the changes that are required for the kinds of results that you want to achieve, then the results will not be achieved because we live in the physical world and we do not bypass physical laws. In other words, if eating a certain diet consistently results in weighing this much, hypnosis doesn't change that equation. Those are physical, natural laws at work there. And that's exactly what's going to happen if the person continues to eat that way. What we do is we use hypnosis to uncover emotions that have shaped and informed that identity. The identity of a fat person, let's say. That change in identity, perhaps there's trauma from childhood, perhaps there is, not everybody is the same. I do not mean to suggest that every time there's an obese person, there's trauma. I'm giving you examples. But there is, in fact, the identity of a fat person. And I'll prove it to you. It's very simple. While a person was gaining weight, they were not noticing that they were gaining weight. They were getting new clothes every 3-4 months. They were gaining weight, but they were not aware that there was a problem. In fact, many people who come to hypnotists have been overweight. In the example of weight, for instance, they've been overweight for a lengthy period of time and it never bothered them until it does. And the reason why it didn't bother them before is because they didn't notice that there was something wrong, because their identity was consistent with the results they saw in the mirror. So they look at the mirror and they say, this is me. See, there's no clash between what I see in the mirror and my identity until it does, until there is a clash. Now they go, oh my gosh, I'm way too overweight. Now let me look for a hypnotist. See, now there's a clash between the way they see themselves. They finally see the problem. One of the things that we do, for instance, when a person comes to see me for weight loss, I'm deviating a little bit. The question here is about hypnosis, not about weight loss. But one of the things that I sometimes help a person do is what we call a weight histogram. In other words, we begin to plot. We make a graph of their weight over the years, and people realize that they gained all of that excess weight during a particular period of their lives, and they pretty much maintained it, increasing just ever slightly over the past several years. And they can always spot a period of their lives, let's say after high school, people tell me, right? Once they go through the pictures and the records and medical records, and they reconstruct a graph showing their weight. Of course, we all increase weight after birth, right? You're born at 6 pounds, whatever, and then you increase your weight. By the time you're in high school, your weight is pretty close to your adult weight by the time you get out of high school. So if you look at pictures and records and whatever now, and you begin to put on a graph your weight, let's say through high school and after high school, suppose you're an adult, a middle-aged adult, and if you are overweight, you will notice that you've gained most of the weight that you're now contending with at a particular period in your life. Before I got married, after my divorce, when I went into the service, when I came back from the service. In other words, there's a period when my brother died, when my mom died, that kind of thing, right? So we gain weight to a certain extent and we stabilize. Why? Because once we reach a certain weight, in other words, if I'm eating consistently excess food every day, weight should be increasing nonstop. If I have a constant level of activity and I consistently overeat over 30 years, my weight should go up every single year by a similar amount, and it doesn't. When you do the histogram, you see that people gain weight and stabilize, which means that at some point they stop overeating, and that's why the weight becomes stable, and that's because at that weight, they found that their body is consistent with their identity. The video is not about weight loss, but the example does serve to illustrate how hypnosis works. If you follow what I'm saying, if you plot the person's weight and you realize that it went up for a period of time and then it stabilized, incidentally, as long as I'm talking about weight loss, this also answers the question, which is really common in the weight loss scenario, where a person says, but doc, I don't overeat and I'm still obese. I say, I know, you don't overeat now. But as soon as we do the histogram, you're going to see that there was a period in your life when you were overeating, and that's when you gained the weight. Now, it's true that you don't overeat if in fact your weight has not increased over the past year or two. It has not increased because you're not overeating. That's true. But you did overeat in the past. You see? So, does hypnosis work? Well, can I achieve results through hypnosis? The answer is yes. In this example I just gave you of weight loss, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to use hypnosis to dig into how this identity of an overweight person came to be. We're going to have to change that identity that will result in different behaviors. You're going to end up eating less and exercising more somehow, not as I say, but as you decide. And as a result of eating less and exercising more, which will help you achieve by using hypnosis, you're going to achieve something called weight loss, and you're going to achieve what's called your ideal weight. And that works consistently, reliably, every single time. So the question, does hypnosis work for marital problems? Like I'm fighting with my husband, I'm fighting with my wife. Does hypnosis work for marital issues? Yes and no. What does that mean? Well, I've been doing this for 27 years. A couple comes in to see me and they say, I'm right, she's wrong. I'm right, he's wrong. Okay, that's fine. What do you want to do? Well, I want you told me hypnosis works. Can't you fix him? Well, I don't know if I can fix him, but your very question implies that perhaps you're a bit too rigid. Would you be willing to consider that perhaps there are a few adjustments that you can make as well? Well, doc, now that you think about it, yeah, sometimes I'm impatient. I would like to be more patient. Okay, so you recognize that there's something that you want to achieve, namely being more patient, that you have not been able to do before. I can certainly help you with hypnosis. Do more of what you want to do and less of what you don't want to do. In other words, I can help you achieve desired behavioral changes that will lead to the results that you want. In that example, if the other party is equally open-minded and say, yeah, it's true, sometimes I do X, Y, or Z and that bothers him or her, it goes both ways, right? And I know that bothers the other party and I keep on doing it. And you know what? I love this person, so I'm going to stop doing X, Y, or Z so that I can find peace in the relationship. Then we do that. We use hypnosis to help them achieve what they want to achieve, and that results in peace in the marriage. Did hypnosis work in that case? Yes. Now, if I say, does hypnosis work for marital problems? And I come to see you, you're my hypnotist now, and I say, dude, I'm not changing because I'm right, I'm perfect. The entire problem is with my wife. Does hypnosis work? So hypnotize me to change her. That kind of thing. Once again, I'm using a philosophical technique called reductio ad absurdum. I'm bringing this conversation to the absurd level for you to realize that clearly it won't work that way. That's not what we do. That's not the proposition. So I say this because you wouldn't believe the number of people that come to the hypnotist with that mindset, and then they say, oh, hypnosis doesn't work for me. It's not what we propose to do. I've had surgery, right? Medical surgery. So suppose a person has a problem, they go to the surgeon, The surgeon says, yep, you have a problem, you need surgery. So they go into the OR, the operating room, and as soon as they get there, they say, you know what? I don't want surgery anymore. It's your right, you're the patient, you're not in jail, right? You can get up and leave before they put you to sleep, right? So I walk out of the OR, and when I walk out, I still have the same problem I walked in with. And then I tell you, dude, surgery didn't work. You go, wait, they didn't do this surgery. And you say, no, because surgery doesn't work. Do you see how absurd this mindset is? So when a person comes to a hypnotist to change their identity, which will result in different behaviors, which will result in different results, they come with that proposition in mind, and they don't open up about their identity. They don't affect a change in identity. There is no change in behavior, and therefore no different results. And they say to you, hypnosis didn't work for me. It's no different from the guy who walked out of the surgery before surgery happened and then told you that surgery didn't work for him. They haven't done it. Last week, somebody came to see me with a very large existential problem. And it just so happened that the person who referred him to me spoke with him after he came to see me and was so concerned about this man that this person called me up to tell me what happened after he came to see me. So the person came to see me and told me, look, I got this problem. I said, okay. We discussed that for a couple of hours, right? A pathway to change his life. And one of the things that this man acknowledged is that he knew what he needed to do. And I agreed with him. Yeah, that is the right path. But he couldn't do it. This is no different from any other addiction. It had nothing to do with a chemical addiction, but it's no different from an addiction. It's like me telling you that I drink way too much every day. I know that's costing me my life, and I know that I shouldn't drink every day, but I can't stop drinking. Well, we would call that an addiction to alcohol. And in that example, if you came to see me and you told me, yeah, I drink too much, and we both agreed, yeah, maybe you should stop drinking, I'm not telling you what to do. We agree that that result is necessary if you want to hold a job, save your marriage, save your health. Maybe you should quit smoking, maybe you should quit drinking, maybe you should X, Y, or Z, right? The person left and told the one who referred him to me that all I did is tell him what he already knew. Therefore, hypnosis doesn't work. I go, well, that's a blatant mischaracterization of what happened and what happens somewhat often, because yes, we both agreed on the obvious, and I gave you the example of smoke cessation. If the person says, I'm here to quit smoking and my doctor told me I'm going to get cancer or whatever if I don't quit smoking, and say, yeah, maybe you should quit smoking. I think you should quit smoking, right? That's not hypnosis. That's me agreeing with you that that's the proper result that we want to shoot for. But obviously, if you could have quit smoking before coming to see me, you wouldn't have come to see me. So in weight loss, we see this all the time. People come to see me and they all have a new diet that they read about on the internet somewhere, and I know one thing about all of them. What is it that I know about all of those diets when a person comes to see me is that whatever it is, the diet is, it didn't work for them. Because if it had worked for them, they wouldn't come to see me, right? That doesn't mean that the diet in of itself doesn't work. But overall, there's only one way to lose weight, which is to eat less. There's only one way to improve your life if you're a smoker, which is to quit smoking. There's only one way to, in other words, and the person knows that. So when they say, does hypnosis work? What they're really asking is, can I still be who I am? Can I still conserve my identity of a smoker, continue smoking, and yet not get lung disease? Well, we don't know how to do that because that's not what the proposition is. The proposition is, can we actually help you become a non-smoker from within? In other words, change your identity to the degree that you no longer smoke, to the degree that it results in better health. You see? So, does hypnosis work? It depends on what you mean by the question. Now, I'll tell you, as long as I'm being honest here and opening up to you, I've been through all kinds of phases. I went also through the jerk phase, right? I laugh now, of course, and I'll tell you why now it's all different. But now I laugh at all of this. The jerk phase was a person would ask me, does hypnosis work? And I say, of course it does. Look at your life. It's a mess, isn't it? Do you actually think you deserve to be miserable as you are? Of course not. You deserve to be great and awesome and happy and wealthy. And why do you think you are miserable? You're miserable because you've been hypnotized into believing that that's all you can get out of life. That answer, I call that the jerk answer. I probably used that a couple of times. And of course, it came from a place of anger. And you know when I stopped using, I probably used that twice that I can recall. Do you know when I stopped using that answer? I laugh nowadays. I stopped using that answer when I realized that obviously that same answer applies to me. So here I was telling this person, yeah, you're not meant to be miserable. I was miserable, right? So I was also hypnotized into believing a bunch of things about myself, about others, about women, about marriage. A lot of the trouble in my life has been in the arena of relationships, So a lot of hypnosis there, cultural, religious, tons of hypnosis that led me to form a conception of reality, of me as a man, of women as women, and marriage, and all of that stuff, Those are all hypnotic ideas, was all instilled into me. It wasn't until I stripped all that away and got to the core of who I am, my identity, that I realized, okay, none of that, well, some of it is consistent with who I am, but a lot of it is not, and I had to strip all that stuff away. And that's when I came to my, what did I call it? I called it another name. Oh, sorry, that's I'm looking for it, but I cannot. Okay, so the last page here, I called it my post-crisis phase. I knew I had come up with a cute name. I'm looking for it here, and I go, wow, that's not what I wrote. That's not what I'm thinking of saying. Yeah, it was on page 2. Talk about hypnosis. I had promised to myself that the notes would not exceed 1 page. So I'm going through page 1, and I cannot find what I wrote, and I go, wow, something is wrong. The words left the paper. No, it's on page 2. Because despite my promise to myself, I couldn't contain myself to 1 page, so it's on page 2. The cute name I came up for it is my post-crisis phase, right? So now everything is different. Because I had a massive personal crisis myself. I had a couple of NDEs, near-death experiences, and I thought I was done. It was kind of a mess, right? But somehow or another, I came back, and here I am, stronger and better than ever. And so it's interesting because, and happier. And one of the good things about those massive crises is exactly what I told you, is that all of that hypnosis that has been instilled into us through culture, through whatever, education, culture, whatever the stuff is, right? All of the stuff washes away because in a sense, we do die, in a sense, metaphorically. And then whatever emerges from that, if anything emerges, is really a new person, right? And we are all entitled to having this experience. And now, a person asks me, does hypnosis work? And my answer is completely different. It's like, okay, listen, give me a call at the office. I'll help you achieve whatever you want to achieve. And, it's interesting because my friends tell me that I'm much more loving, more compassionate, more understanding, and I get that kind of feedback on a daily basis now. And it's not a virtue of mine. It's just the result of a huge experience that kind of changes you a little bit and dehypnotized me quite a bit to the degree that, it's all different. But incidentally, one of the things that and I got to remind you, I've been doing this for 27 years. I don't say this to impress you or anything. It's too long. But what's interesting is that I have a ton of records. In other words, when I compare what I'm doing now to what I've done in the past professionally, I'm not just using some sort of opinion because I've seen it in a movie. I have a ton of records. And I can literally compare what's going on now at the office with what we used to do. And the results are through the roof. Years after that experience, after that conversation, I went through a crisis, I came back. And what I'm seeing now, I didn't think I was going to come back, by the way. I was not feeling well. I didn't really, Then I came back. And then we're doing work right now that is really interesting stuff. Not for me, for the person who's receiving the benefit, because it's all about you. It's all about healing. It's all about your lives, right? I feel great. I mean, I thank God every day. In other words, the whole point of what we do is for the person who comes over and they're experiencing massive results. So this is what I call my post-crisis phase. It's much more compassion. And then I now understand that when a person asks me, does hypnosis work? They don't mean any offense by it. They just means, look, I'm hurting. I don't even know how to ask this question. I'm desperate, and I just want to know if there's any hope for me. So the way the question comes out is, does hypnosis work? So now that I hear those, now that I understand the motivation behind the question, I just say, look, what is it that you want to achieve? Oh, no, if you only knew whatever. Now, when people open up to me, I'm talking like in public, but they open up like they bare their hearts. Like, it's like, okay, sure. Yeah, we can discuss this. We can make this work for you, of course. Because when they tell me what's going on, I see the light in them. There's a lot of light there. But the initial question was, does hypnosis work? And I feel that. I was there, and to a large extent still am, because we're all humans. So, does hypnosis work? I would say to you, you work. I would say the magic is not in the tool, it's not in the operator. The magic is in you. And if you find a hypnotist who took the time to learn the techniques to help you get in touch with you, you're going to achieve results because the magic is already within you. Any questions? Let me know through the comments. Please subscribe to the channel. Mega blessings to all of you. See you next time.